come along and speak to you. Somebody that, an incredibly attractive lady actually, and I think you'll see what I mean when she walks in. But this lady her name is actually called Dr. Drugamore. Has anyone ever heard of Dr. Drugamore? No one in the room has. See, that's just it. This lady is world renowned for what she does, but unfortunately here in Adelaide you haven't been exposed to her yet. Dr. Drugamore is what's known as a pseudo-psychiatrist. Has anyone ever heard the term pseudo-psychiatrist at all? You haven't? Okay. Now, what I'd like to do, if I may, is quote a book called The Mind Game by Philip Day. And Philip Day actually describes psychiatry as this. He says that psychiatry is the study of people who don't really need to be messed with by people that definitely do. And so with that in mind, our Dr. Drugamore also has a doctorate in therapeutic blunders. And so I'd like you to please put your hands together tonight and welcome Dr. Drugamore to the room that you want. Thank you. Are you turned on? I'm going to have to put my hand up her coat and turn her on. Is that okay? This is the best part of the night, I reckon, personally.
This is exciting. Wow, what a great room. Nice to be here. I liked Andrew's introduction, especially the attractive part. That was quite good. Now, I believe there are some people in the room here this evening that are interested in children's health. Am I in the right room? Some of you may be particularly interested in what's happening with the drugging of many of our beautiful children. Now, I brought with me my two trusty resources, took up half my luggage allowance. I think it's about 10 kilos worth here. I have my diagnostic and statistical manual for mental disorders. Has anybody had the great pleasure of flicking through that book? If you haven't, what I really suggest you do, if you don't have a good bedside book to read before you go to sleep, it's very, very highly recommended. A great read, very, very interesting. You'll be able to diagnose just about everybody you know after reading that. Would you hold that one for me, please? And I also have the MEMS, which is the medical book, the medical book that our medical practitioners use once they've decided what your challenge is or what your label or condition is. They can then flip through this and find a very appropriate medication that's going to do the job just to get you fixed up really nicely. And I'd be happy, I know there's a lot of you in the room tonight, but I'd be happy to find something for each of you a little later. Now, what we're actually going to do, because I didn't realise there were going to be this many of you here, because I was going to come and have a chat to each and every one of you, but I think that's going to take a little bit long. So what we might do tonight is a mass diagnosis. Yeah. Now, what I want each and every one of you to do is think of somebody, preferably a child or an adolescent, but if you can't think of a child or an adolescent, it could be your partner. You can diagnose yourself. You can just diagnose the person sat next to you, but preferably a child that you know or an adolescent that you know fairly well. And what I'm going to do is, see, because when Caleb was being diagnosed, when we were trying to figure out what was wrong with him, they actually used a set of criteria. And when they ticked off a certain amount of those, they go, well, that's what he's got, that's his label, that's what we're going to call him now. We're going to call him a child with ODD and ADHD. And because we didn't know any different, we just thought, okay, that's what he is, and that's what we have to call him, and that's what his challenges are. So I'm actually going to use my trusty reference here. Has everybody thought of somebody? Now, I hope this is going to work okay. What I actually want everybody to do, please, is stand. And I'm going to start reading out the symptoms for ADD and ADHD. And when you get to 6 things that you've thought of that are apt descriptions of this particular child or adolescent or person that you're thinking of, I just want you to quietly sit down, if you wouldn't mind. Okay, first one. Often fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes in schoolwork, work or other activities. So if that one's appropriate, count on.
I'll diagnose Dr. Drugamore, so that's one.
Oh dear. Second one. Often has difficulty sustaining attention in tasks or play activities. Often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly. Now, guys in the room, if you're anyone that's diagnosing a male specimen, I think that we should at least be counting that one for all males.
What about if we've got a remote control now?
That's even worse. Okay, fourthly, often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores or duties in the workplace. Next, often has difficulty organising tasks and activities.
Can I ask where? Oh, it's all right.
Often avoids, dislikes or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort, such as schoolwork or homework. Oh, we've lost a few already. Often loses things necessary for tasks or activities. Example, toys, school assignments, pencils, books or tools, or in my case, car keys or mobile phone. Is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. Is often forgetful in daily activities. Please stay standing if you haven't counted to 6 yet, but those at the front, just cast your eyes back and see how many people we've diagnosed with ADD tonight. Each and every one of the people that are now seated, or the person that you were thinking of, we would have, as a professional, as a doctor of children's health here, we will have diagnosed with ADD. Now, for those of you that are still standing, let's continue on with the symptoms of ADHD. So we're now going to look at hyperactivity and impulsivity. Okay, often fidgets with hands or feet or squirms in seat, and I will be watching. Often leaves seat in the classroom or other situation in which remaining seating is expected. Often runs about or climbs excessively in situations in which it is inappropriate. If it's an adolescent or an adult we're talking about, it means they may be limited to subjective feelings of restlessness. Often has difficulty playing or engaging in leisure activities quietly. Is often on the go or acts as if driven by a motor, as our Dr. Mark said on the DVD. Often talks excessively. I hope you're not counting that one for me. Now, the impulsivity. Often blurts out answers before questions have been completed. Often has difficulty awaiting turn, and often interrupts or intrudes on others. Example, butts into conversations or games. Please stay standing if you haven't counted to 6 yet. Now, in a room of about 300 people this evening, we have 2 people only remaining. So the rest of you, we've either diagnosed your child or adolescent or the person you were thinking of with ADD or ADHD. Now, see how easily I could do that? And I got paid very, very well for doing that as well. Well, look, what I'm going to say to you two ladies, though, is that you're either in denial or let me see, according to condition V15.81, late, you listening to your diagnosis? You are either in denial or suffering with non-compliance with treatment.
And it's medicatable.
And it's medicatable, for sure.
So, go on.
Now, the lady that said that her son was diagnosed with ODD like Caleb was, everybody once again think of, if you didn't think of an adolescent last time, try and think of an adolescent this time if you can. Don't have to stand this time, but let me just quickly run through the criteria. This is for ODD. Often loses temper. Often argues with adults. Often actively defies or refuses to comply with adults' requests or rules. Often deliberately annoys people. Often blames others for his or her mistakes or misbehaviour. Is often touchy or easily annoyed. Is often angry and resentful. Is often spiteful or vindictive. Should that be called condition 313.81 oppositional defiance disorder, or should that be called puberty? What do you think? Now, if you took your child along to a professional as myself, I would actually diagnose that child as a pseudo-psychiatrist with ODD and most probably recommend an appropriate medication. And this is happening more and more. Now, it's quite alarming to see this happening so much.
Now, I guess, yeah, there's a funny side to the way that we've covered this, but we want I guess what we're really wanting to get across is that we now have a system that's been set in place that renders 100% of the population medicatable for a mental disorder. You're the proof.